All right, well, welcome back, AAMI fans. We are here at day 2 of AAMI Exchange. It's been an exciting couple of days, and I am now joined in the studio by Ty Greenhalgh with Medigate. How are you, sir?
I am wonderful. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. You've been very busy the last couple of days, as I know you were last year, so welcome back to Exchange.
Well, thank you.
And so tell me, so you did I know you did a speech last year. You did a presentation last year, and you've been doing more this year, so I want to get into that. But before we do that, tell folks who you are.
Thank you. My name is Ty Greenhalgh, and I am the industry principal for Medigate by Claroty, and we're delighted to be exhibiting here, participating, and supporting.
Well, we're delighted to have you here. So now, that out of the way, tell me what you are doing this year, because you've got several activities you're involved in.
Well, goodness, I had an abstract selected, which was nice. That's always an honor, and was able to present yesterday on basically what the Department of Health and Human Services has designated as the best practices for medical device cybersecurity. And so we went into that. That was very well attended. Also, I was speaking on the stage over here with Siemens Healthineers on how, again, same type of topic, cybersecurity. And also was, again, very honored to be selected by the Technology Committee to come in and kind of brief them on the Consolidated Appropriations Act, which is the FDA initiative for getting new powers of authority over the medical device manufacturing.
Right, so the key takeaway for folks is when the experts want to know what's going on, you're the guy they call in. So that's a pretty, anybody that's listening to this that's not here is getting a treat because that's pretty special. So, and sort of on that list of activities and things you're doing with us is the Medigate-sponsored webinar series that we're doing, 6-part webinar series on cybersecurity. And I want to talk a little bit more about that, and I know it gets into sort of 6 operational domains. But before we go to that level of detail, since you're the expert, the experts call in, give us a little bit about what the environment does look like from a regulatory and policy making point of view, because things are kind of pivoting to the next phase.
Yeah, that's a good place to start. Thank you. I would say first that I've never seen government move at this speed before. The White House has come out with their national cybersecurity strategy, and you kind of carve that into critical infrastructures. The healthcare is a critical infrastructure, and so you apply that. It's really requiring to figure out what the best practices are for medical device cybersecurity is one. The shifting of liability, which you were seeing in the FDA initiative that we just talked about, where the onus is being put on the manufacturer to provide better, more secure devices. So that's shifting liability. That's part of that White House strategy. And they're looking to the Department of Health and Human Services and CISA to figure out what do we need to do to protect healthcare, because we're obviously, 10 years in a row, we're the #1 target, and so we're not doing a good enough job. So they're coming out with, it's currently being debated. What's going to be recommended is the prioritized, recognized security practices that may be a minimum requirement, and then whether there'll be grants or subsidies or what they're going to do for workforce. And so all of that's really in discussion right now across Congress and the White House and HHS and CISA. And so there's really a lot going on.
So there's going to be a whole lot new, maybe new legislation, but even within the current legislation, a lot of new policy.
Yeah.
That sounds like it'll have both some, sounds like a carrot and a stick a little bit, because trying to solve some of the funding problems and resource problems, and then also setting higher and more specific requirements?
Yes, absolutely.
And that's where we kind of go back to the best practices that we were talking about. So let's transition a little bit to the webinar series that we're doing with you all. And I think we have can we bring up that slide that shows the 6 domains? So first of all, thanks to Medigate for sponsoring that. It's fantastic. And we've actually done 3, so folks at home know, and there's 3 more to go, so it's not too late to register.
Absolutely.
And if they come in and they register on AAMI.org for the website, they get to see the 3 that are already done, because we recorded those. But so when we talked about spinning that up, it was you all, of course, that divided this work into 6 domains. Tell me about why that is. What are the 6 domains, and why did you approach it that way?
Okay, so in the best practices, the document, it's put out by the 405D group. This is under HHS, basically the healthcare industry cybersecurity practices. So it's kind of the best things to do for cyber for hospitals. In that is a practice called medical device security. And then kind of underneath that are the sub-practices. And these sub-practices, that's really kind of how we divided up the 6
so
sessions.
it matches that.
Yeah, so you get to come in and go kind of, why, what is it about medical devices that are so hard to secure, and what are the recommendations? And we broke it up logically with the way that the Department of Health and Human Services is breaking it up. The first one was on asset management, and so we did that with ServiceNow, and kind of how do you integrate a CMMS into cyber and operationalize the management of the devices. And then the second one was on endpoint detection, kind of because you got to do. Medical devices don't operate the same as IT devices, and so the endpoint detection needs to be a little different. So we did that with CrowdStrike.
Okay.
And so how Medigate would integrate with CrowdStrike and the data that's being shared, similar with ServiceNow, and how the two go together better. The third one we just had was with Rapid7 for vulnerability management, and kind of the what's really been great about this is the feedback we're getting is people are learning a lot about, because we keep it at a high level, and then they can go through the resource of the documentation that we provide. So those 3 have gone super, and so I would encourage everybody to go back and listen to those. And then the next 3 we have coming up are network security. So we did that with Cisco, kind of like how do you do this segmentation thing? How do you lock devices down for least privileges? And then we're going to move into one is just contract management, and that's I'm equating that one to Argentine tango, where it's how do you lead in a negotiation?
Inappropriate jokes are popping to mind right now. I'm not going to go there. Go ahead.
But there's a document out there that's been created within the same group for contract negotiations for medical devices, and there's 40.
What should be in that from a cyber perspective?
Absolutely, there's 48 phrases that have been pre-negotiated by medical device manufacturers, hospitals, and attorneys that have. It's a great place. Just throw them all in your contract.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
And why? And then the last one is, even with the FDA that's come out and said, because like in the program we were both in for the keynote speaker on cybersecurity, he mentioned that it's really just for new devices and new applications. The legacy devices are still a problem. So there was a group that got together. It was Jessica Wilkerson from the FDA, and Tom Powers from Intermountain, and Samantha Jocks from McLaren, some really brilliant people. Brilliant people got together 2 years to put this document together on how do you secure legacy medical devices. What are the rubber meets the road practices? And that's the last one. So I think it's really great, good content for everybody. Whether you know something or you don't know anything, it's a great. We're really happy to be able to contribute to this and kind of help the education of everybody in the membership.
We were delighted to have you guys support that and really drive that, honestly. And I can tell you from our side, the feedback has been very good on the first 3, and I know it'll be good on the next 3. So obviously one step that folks can take is come and register for the series, and they can do that on AAMI.org, and they'll learn about all these domains in detail. But it's interesting to me, the problem's so complex. I think just the fact that you said this is tied back to other documents and direction, just having those domains defined and being able to work through them in that way, and think even that's valuable. So
absolutely.
And so tell me what it was tied back. The 6 domains came from. Tell me the source again.
So it's if you go to the website 405d.hhs.gov. So just right to the HHS website, and you're looking for the healthcare industry cybersecurity practices. We call it HICCUP, HICP. Easy to find on that website, and it's broken down for small, medium, and large hospitals as to what the best practices are. And even if you don't take it and use it like I'm going to go apply it. Where do you start in your education process with respect to terminology, right? Well, I would suggest this is a really good place to start, because if you're going to have to commit something to memory, how about the best practices that HHS is recommending?
Exactly. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Well, listen, thank you so much. This has been great. Thanks again for participating with us in all the ways you do it at Exchange. Hopefully we'll see you next year in Phoenix.
Absolutely.
You're already thinking what you can cook up there, and we'll get the webinar series done, and that'll be a huge success. So just thank you for all that you do. So
well, thank you for the opportunity.